All right, hey guys. I don't know really how to start each one of these modules, so maybe I'll do a little Gary Shandling. Hey now, or yeah, I like that. All right, well, this tutorial and this group of tutorials is going to be getting us started in modeling. And one of the biggest things we need as we model are image planes. And or to utilize image planes. And to do so, we need to be in our orthographic views. Okay. Now, the reason being is that the image plane is easily positioned in these views as well, and plus we model in our orthographic views. So there's a couple ways to get to our image planes. One is to come up here to View, and if we select that, and then come down here to Image Plane, and then Import Image, it opens up our source image folder, and inside there's a folder that's image planes, and it's going to be for the mechanical chair, and we're going to have a front, a side, and a top view. And since we are in the front view, we're going to go ahead and select that one. Now I can still manipulate this plane as it comes in. I can position it, and I want to try to position it as good as possible, or at least as aligned as possible to this particular grid. So I'm going to raise it up, and I'm going to put the legs on the 0 point of our Y axis, our up and down axis. And I think that's pretty good to start with. We can fine tune this here in a little bit, but let's go ahead and do another one. And if we come over here to our side view, I'm going to show you another way to bring in an image plane, and that is by this icon here underneath shading and lighting. There we go. Let's select that, and it brings us again back into our source images, and we'll navigate to our folder, and we're going to choose the side view. Click open, and again it pops on the screen, and we can position it. Going to bring it up into the Y axis, again hoping to align it to that 0. And we'll fine tune these a little bit. So let's finalize this with the top view, and we'll do it through View, Image Plane, and then Import Image. And again, source image, navigate to our folder, and then choose our top view. And we'll click open. Now this one's off actually quite a bit. So I'm going to show you how a best way to align this. And for me, if we utilize our D key, hitting D, I'll show you here in just a second when we select it. There we go. And it changes this tool a little bit here. And I do not have snap on. This is actually just going to be positioning by view. And I'm repositioning my anchor point, or my center point here. To do so, that should allow me to center this top view a little bit better. So I'll go ahead and go into my translation tool, come out of that D tool, which just resets our center point. And now I'm just going to center it the best way that I can. I think that's pretty good for now. Again, we can always change this a little bit. So I'm going to go back into my perspective view here, and I'm going to take a look at what I created. Well, whoa, it's pretty crazy here. And it's pretty much taking up all of the grid. I mean, the view that I'm trying to see in the grid is pretty much gone. I'm going to align this just a touch. So what I have to do is I have to move these image planes off of the grid so that when we create our primitives, we have room to model. And it doesn't matter how far back we push it in Z or in X, you'll still see this image plane. So what I'm going to do is make sure that the Z axis is facing forward, and I'm going to push this side image, or front image, I'm sorry, back in Z space. And if we look at it here, it's about what? A -4. And I think that's pretty good to start with. And now we can do the same for our side view on the x-axis here, and we'll probably match that at a -4 as well. Now the bottom one, you just really have to bring it away from the grid a little bit. So you can just bring it down. In some cases you may bring it up, but in most cases it's better just to have below the grid. And if we take a look at our y, it's set at what? About a negative 0.4. And that would be pretty good. And that does give us some room there to start to populate our stage with our primitives that we're going to use. Now, image planes can be a wonderful tool, but they can also get in the way as we're modeling. In other words, if we're trying to select some of our models, well, in turn, we're selecting our image planes. So I'm going to go ahead and put those on a layer. Okay, I'm going to create a layer in my channel box editor over here, my display layer area, and I'm going to, with those image planes selected, I'm going to click on this little icon and I'm going to add them to this layer. Okay, and I'll name it image plane 1. I hit save, and now I can, well, let me change this. Hold on, let me make sure this is correct. Sorry guys, there we go. And just to stay organized, and we'll click save, and now they are on a layer to where we can make them a reference. In that way, when we're working with them, we won't continually select them. So now that it's a reference layer, we can't select it, and we could start modeling if we needed to, because it gives us this great reference, and we can start pulling in primitives. One more way to check to make sure that our image planes are aligned, you can kind of see I moved them back a little bit. They are set, at about a -6 in the Z and a -6 in the X axis. Well, left the bottom one alone. But if we create a plane, okay, and we scale this plane out, I'm going to hit R, and I'm going to scale uniformly from the center. Okay, and our plane is here in the outliner, and I'm using my scale tool. And I'm just going to simply drag this center tool out to increase the size of my plane. Now next I'm going to go ahead and translate this up, and I'm going to eyeball place it to the top of my mechanical chair here, and to see if my image planes are aligned. They're pretty close. Actually, it's pretty good. I don't think I'm going to do too much movement. Raise that up just a little bit. This is in the side view. I'm going to go into my front view. I'm going to zoom in and just double check. And it looks like I could raise this front view image plane up a little bit just to align it to that new plane as our guide. So I'm going to uncheck the reference. I'm going to select my image plane. Okay, and I know I have to, well, hold on, I'm just going to scale the actual image up a little bit, like a 1.1. I made these images in Photoshop, guys, and I just brought them in and tried to create the, project so that I could get them the exact same size and the same measurements, but sometimes we have to tweak them a little bit. So let's see here. I think we're pretty good. Went crazy there with a few numbers. I had to Control Z back, and I think this 1.01 scale would give me the height that I need. And really, this is kind of picking it apart because I was pretty close already, and I think we could have modeled with it like that. But I did, whoop, sorry, my view here went a little wacko. I do think it's smart to get them as close as possible. It does help, but even if they're, a 0.1 or a 0.01 off, I would still go ahead and start modeling. So that's just another way to make sure that things are aligned. And as we move forward, within this particular tutorial, we will start to create this chair, and we'll probably have to move these image planes around a little bit as we're creating. So for now, I think these are pretty good. I'm going to rescale this other image plane. I think I may do a 1.023, I think is what I came up with, and that should equal out the size of what I'm trying to look for here. So again, that being said, I think we will explore this a little bit more in the next video as we start to model this chair. So I hope this helps a little bit, and we'll see you in the next video.